It's time to rev your engines. The Syracuse Nationals proudly presents the Cavalcade of Cars, March 22nd through 23rd at the New York State Fairgrounds. The two-day indoor car show features all the classics, plus lifted trucks, Jeeps, motorcycles, and more. Cavalcade of Cars, CNY.com.
Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University, this is Newhouse Afternoon.
Well, we are Newhouse Afternoon, but it's a little different this week. Jazeline Salinas, Timmy Weiss, myself, Griffin Bloomstein. We are actually in studio at the Galaxy Media headquarters for some ESPN Radio Syracuse broadcast. Newhouse Afternoon here. We got a long show, but first, let's start off. How are we doing on this fine Thursday afternoon? It was nice the past couple of days, the weather.
It's been nice. I mean, it was 50 degrees the other day, Griffin. No complaints. But today, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of windy, honestly.
Yeah.
We were walking over here to get in my car, and we were getting blown away. All of you guys were wishing you brought your winter coat. I brought my winter coat, so I was prepared.
Yeah. Today made me really excited for spring break. Tomorrow I'm flying out back to home, warm, sunny California. So
You're lucky.
I want to get out of here for a sec.
Timmy and I are staying in the Northeast, so we are going to be sticking with Syracuse and the Boston area. But let's start off. Last show, Orange Nation, it was a big Orange Nation with Stephen Pauly. John Wildhack, Adrian Autry both came on. But first, John Wildhack said Adrian Autry is back, a year 3 in the works for Coach Autry. But there's an expectation to that where the team is going to be playing meaningful games in March. Syracuse needs to be back to the NCAA tournament, definitely the ACC tournament. Are you surprised by that? Is there anything that what he said that made you unsure, or is what John Wildhack said were you expecting?
I was expecting it. I mean, I didn't think that Coach Autry was going to be outed after 2 seasons. I do think, though, that him being so hopeful and optimistic with the coach and the team is a little shocking. His first season, Autry came in, did a great job.
20 wins.
20 wins. Then we come into this season, and it's like the opposite scale. So it's a little weird, I think, that Wildhack is just so hopeful.
I think to be hopeful about the situation is pretty absurd.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because...
Why? Syracuse has a top 10 recruiting class coming up next season.
Yeah, but Syracuse is one of the worst teams in the ACC.
Sure.
Which is a terrible conference.
But this is going to be a completely new team next year.
It might be a new team, but we're going to lose players. Syracuse is going to lose players.
But that happens every year.
Yeah, but big players. I'm expecting J.J. Starling to leave.
I think you're completely ridiculous for saying that. I think J.J. is going to be back. But the thing is, it's the NIL. Syracuse is attacking this offseason different than last year. Syracuse has a GM, Alex Klein, who was not here for last year's transfer portal. And Coach Autry said Alex Klein's the difference maker for that. So did John Wildhack. And I think just the way Syracuse's philosophy with NIL, with the transfer portal, it's completely different from last season. Obviously, the struggles in the transfer portal specifically last season, it's resulted into the play. Eddie Lampkin has been good. He's been consistent. But besides that, you haven't gotten a lot of production from the other guys. Jaquan Carlos was supposed to be that point guard, but he's been good at some games. Recently, he's picked it up, but it's too little too late. Syracuse has the money is the question. The question is the money. And Syracuse has a better foundation going into this year than last year, but I'm still not sure if it's enough.
You're saying
even with the money,
even with the money, you're saying that we have this plan. Syracuse has this plan to come in, attack, get 20 million, whatever it is, but it's not going to make that clear of a difference. It's just not. You have local fans buying tickets, buying merch. Now they're expected to put more into this team, but with what incentive? After this season, I wouldn't want. I don't know much about stocks. I'm not an investor or anything like that, but I would not want to put even more money out with. I guess that's the
But
thing
Kyan
with
Anthony's
gambling.
coming here. Sadiq Weiss.
Okay, but is he really going to change the team drastically? The team is at such a low point right now, Griffin. Even if they get a lot better, they're still going to be a mid-tier, maybe just above that ACC team. And that isn't even a good team.
I think there's a lot this offseason will tell us about. I think Syracuse is in a good position with the $20.5 million that they're going to spend in NIL revenue sharing. specifically to the players. That's going to be enticing. They're going to spend a good
But
chunk.
they have to get that money.
But
And
no,
I
the 20.5 is there. The 20.5 that Syracuse is spending on revenue sharing directly from the Syracuse Athletics Department, that's there. It's going to go a lot to football, but Syracuse is going to spend big on basketball because that's what they need to do to be competitive. And the transfer portal is the biggest thing. Syracuse can keep guys. They have a good recruiting class coming up. The question is Syracuse going to be able to compete in the transfer portal? And I think they are.
Do you think Autry has a big influence on pulling guys into the squad?
Of course. I mean, Autry, he's been a good recruiter.
Even with this year.
Yes, because 20 wins last year, although it didn't get them to where they want to be, obviously. 20 wins is good, but the standard for Syracuse is the NCAA tournament
yes.
every single year. And I think the promise of being back there and the fact that you have top-tier recruits, something, yes, you had last year, but obviously the transfer portal wasn't it. The big thing is the transfer portal. I think the biggest thing is the transfer portal. And obviously it's going to come up. It's March 6th right now. I had to check the date real quick on that one.
Yeah.
But once March Madness is over, even once March Madness is going and teams are eliminated, the transfer portal picks up right there. And so it's not like we'll have to wait 4 or 5 months to see if Syracuse is going to be competitive. We should know within the next 2 to 3 if Syracuse is going to be competitive just because of the guys they get from the portal.
So my question for you, Griffin, is how much will Adrian Autry next year play a part, even if they get good players in the transfer portal? Will Adrian Autry be able to take those guys to the next level? Because
he showed it in year 1. He showed that he can get 20 wins.
He
didn't show it this year. That's the thing. I think you're this hope that we have for this team next year seems very misplaced.
Why? I have complete faith in Adrian Autry given the pieces around, if there are the right pieces around him. And it's not just Adrian Autry's job. It's the level of talent Syracuse has. Syracuse doesn't have the level of talent this year to compete in March Madness. That's obviously true because they're nowhere near making it. But if the talent is up next year, which I believe it will be, I think Adrian Autry and his coaches are good enough to take a high level of talent into March Madness.
Let me phrase it away differently. How much of the problems this year do you think are on Autry compared to the talent of the team?
I don't think I might put it 75-25 talent. I don't think this team has enough talent to compete. Obviously,
so last year, do you think they did have enough talent?
I think Malik Brown was a very good defensive player. I think J.J. Starling and Judah Mintz teamed up well. And Judah Mintz, obviously, he's doing great things in the G League now. Syracuse had much more talent last year, especially defensively, with what Quadir Copeland, with what Malik Brown was giving you. And so this year, it's not there. I think next year, it can be there. And I think Adrian Autry has to get back to that level. I think he can be a very good coach, as he showed last season. I think at some point, Syracuse has struggled late, especially second halves, when they're up ahead, staying with a lead. But I think it's all fixable.
I think he needs better defenders. You need to get a guy in the transfer portal who is an elite defender. Because I don't think you can do it with just a decent or good defender. Because the defense is that bad. It needs to be changed drastically, and I don't think Adrian Autry can do it on his own. He needs the help from an established defender to be able to help him through that.
Is that the same thing that you think, Jazz? Or
I think that the point that you brought up earlier that this is fixable, I do agree. I just think it's going to take more time than just this one season or just to see a turnaround from this last season of just disappointment. I don't think we're going to see that big of a change going into next season just based off just the money alone. Like I know we've covered that, we touched on that, but like Syracuse is a private institution. People want to see what's going to happen with this money. Like where is it going to be distributed? And it's going to go mainly to football. So
yeah, I mean, see what happened last season. Syracuse football, Fran Brown pumped a lot of money in. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of support just based on Fran Brown's image because he was a great leader, because he motivated everybody to chip in money and see what happened. The football team did well. I think if Syracuse basketball, I think Kyan Anthony, I think, brings a lot of people. He's going to bring companies and brands himself, like A-tier brands, just because of his name alone. And I think that alone will help Syracuse's basketball image in itself.
I think there's potential, Griffin. I think there's the potential to get those elite players, but if I'm being honest, I don't know if I believe in the squad to get that many transfers to truly change as a team. I think it is possible because of, like you mentioned, Kai and Anthony, and also with all the money they have.
But you see what a team like Louisville's doing. Louisville added a completely new team, all new players, and they are doing very well this season.
It's a good point.
It's possible. I think Syracuse has the foundation to do it. I think it's going to take money, obviously. That's the question. Is Syracuse going to have enough money to do it? That's the question. But I think what your point, Jazz, was that you don't think next year is the year, right?
I don't.
I don't either.
I think last year with the 21 wins was an incredible start, and it boosted our expectations, our hopes for this team. This season was so disappointing. It feels like it's a luck of a draw. It's literally 50-50 what this next season is going to bring, because we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and I don't think we're going to go back to how last season
Well, then
was.
I'm worried, because based on what John Wildhack said, the athletic director, if Syracuse doesn't play meaningful games in March, I don't think Adrian Autry is back, just based on what John Wildhack was saying.
He's not going to be back after next year.
Based on your expectations.
My expectations are he's going to be gone. Unless something drastic changes.
Yeah, I think something drastic will change. I do. Well, we're coming up on a break here on Newhouse Afternoon. We'll be right back on ESPN Radio Syracuse 97.7.
Syracuse basketball head coach Adrian Autry joins Orange Nation every Thursday at 1. Brought to you by IBEW Local 43, Haler, Fryer & Kuhn, and Burdick BMW. ESPN 97.7 and 100.1.
Okay.
LCY, it's got to be nice.
that
I'm
good?
Dan Shirk, General Manager for the Nida Motor Group in Oneida
Yeah.
and Rome.
And I'm Nick DiCarlo, Sales Director for Nye. It's been one heck of a winter here at Nye. We've
Yeah, 'cause
decided
I
it's
couldn't
time
hear
to
him from
move this
here. I was like,
inventory with what we like to call
Once I
deep
saw you
snow
chilling.
means deep discounts. Right, Dan?
Absolutely, Nikki. We've had such a blast of winter this year
Yeah.
that our sales numbers have been off. So to combat that, we're taking the deepest snowfall in years and giving out the deepest discounts.
Does it?
Thousands,
Yeah, no,
if not
I'm just-
tens of
Oh, did
thousands
you
off
type
certain
that?
vehicles
Is my
for a winter's over celebration.
Oh.
Nikki, what happens if our team can't make the deal that our customers want?
Well, Dan,
Okay.
our
Yeah.
team will reach out to me, and if
All
I
right,
can't get it done,
so
well,
how much-
you know you're going to get the call.
mostly women's
I'd rather
basketball,
not have
but
to have
some
that
women's
happen,
lacrosse,
so
too,
I'm going to
right?
make a really
Yeah,
aggressive
I
deal.
think, I think
talk
if
both.
Okay, so
we,
what you're telling
I'm
me
gonna
is
say both.
deep snow made
I can't
less
believe you guys
sales.
don't think
So we're
that
starting off
Syracuse
behind
is-
this year, and deep discounts
Bro,
is how
I'm
we're gonna
not
ramp up
confident.
sales.
I'm not.
Like, I'm
We pay the
sorry.
bills with volume.
After watching
Which
this
makes sense
year.
to me.
So come see why it's got to be Nye before you buy. Stop in and see us or shop us online.
I think that because of the NIL like house settlement coming in the next month, there's so much unknown in this like space of just money that it's like I don't if I'm the person with the money like making that decision to give my money and I don't know where it's being distributed, I don't see a plan, I don't see anything. It just
But you have,
very
but some people are so dedicated to Syracuse athletics. If I am a proud supporter with enough money to commit to NIL, and I love Syracuse
but
basketball,
how many
and that is
there are there?
there's a lot of people.
Okay.
I think the problem is they are scared. They are scared to put their money down, but Syracuse needs those people. That is what John Wildhack with this $50 million commitment is trying to do. They are trying to get people to commit their money because people who have been scared to do it in the past, but those are the type of people Syracuse needs to be competitive and be in the top 25, which they honestly should be year in and year out.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like literally though, something has to change so much. The team is so bad.
It has
Like,
to be
it's
just
so
a
bad.
huge turnaround.
Yeah. Mhm.
Those three red buttons.
Yep.
And then when you hit any of them, it'll make it so we can't hear the logger anymore, and only you guys and your headsets will be able to hear.
Gotcha. I think there's plenty of people out there that would love to see Syracuse be successful. Obviously, I mean every fan, but the ones that can put the money up and have the financial support to do so, those are the types of people that Syracuse needs to reach out to. You know, if they truly want to be successful, it's on those people. Which I mean, I bet a lot of people listening don't like that. I'm not necessarily one that does either. I don't like that people should have to pay money, and that type of money depends on how successful Syracuse is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the days of pre-NIL are over. It's a whole new
it's,
league.
Yeah,
it's
it's
true.
a whole new
So
realm.
weird. It's great that how like we're still getting used to it. Like you know,
No
one understands it still.
And we've only been college basketball fans for 5-10 years.
A
And so
little
people,
longer than that, but yeah.
I mean, I have been. I was just speaking in general,
Yeah,
but but there's people who've been Syracuse fans for 50 years, and for them to adjust and to take the time to realize how it's actually changed and how it's not just the days of, all right, I can promise you're going to play 30 minutes a night.
Yeah.
That just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what's so uneasy about this is like, obviously investing money is always a gamble, but with this like NIL space less than a month away of a final decision, it's just very, I don't know. It's just an unknown thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim, you got us, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the timeout? Like
5 seconds.
ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back into Newhouse Afternoon, ESPN 97.7. Timmy Weiss alongside Jaslyn Salinas and Griffin Bloomstein. We just talked a lot about Syracuse men's basketball. There are a lot of unknowns for the next season. But Syracuse women's basketball, well, they're kind of in that same boat right now, guys. I mean,
The season's over.
The season's over after yesterday.
over.
It is
Heartbreaking.
now officially over for Syracuse women's basketball. They fell to Boston College 76-73 in the ACC tournament yesterday. And oh my goodness, guys.
Heartbreaker.
What a game.
Absolute heartbreaker. A 19-point lead that they blew. Unbelievable.
It was a great game, though. I had a lot of fun watching it. Not obviously the outcome we wanted, but as like a basketball fan, it was a very interesting game to watch.
It's a very weird matchup because, they came into the game. Syracuse had its largest loss in the FLJ era to Boston College earlier this year at Boston College. And then Syracuse ended up getting its biggest win in the ACC season against Boston College at home later in the year. So it was like, well, what's going to happen in this game? We don't really know what to expect. And, well, it was chaos. It was as advertised. It was chaos.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't chaos for a moment. I mean, we were up by those 19 points going into halftime. I felt good.
I think everyone felt good.
I was kind of calm. It was like this, like kind of like, okay, we got this. But it just goes to show you those last few minutes. Every minute counts until the very end. So much could change.
So much can change. And, I mean, talk about change. The team is going to change a lot for next season. This season was a tough one for Syracuse women's basketball. They didn't have high expectations after Deaisha Fair left. But now things are changing a lot. And that's my main concern. Georgia Woolley is now done. We just were talking about Deaisha Fair being done, and now all of a sudden, Georgia Woolley is done.
A year later, yeah.
The talent is slowly diminishing for the squad. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little worried for the next couple years.
It's sad. Georgia Woolley was very emotional after the game, and she played her heart out. Like she was the one battling for loose balls at the end of the game. She was the one trying to put up shots. She checked up that last three for Syracuse just to try to get it tied and force overtime. Sophie Burrows played well. Kyra Wood had a great game. It's also Kyra Wood's last game for Syracuse. I mean, Kyra Wood and Georgia Woolley, those are two staples for Syracuse the past couple of seasons. Mm-hmm. But it's a new era. Dominique Camp's gone. Isa Verajao, Lexi McNabb. Some of these players we've talked about all season have played their last game for Syracuse, and it's sad because these have been the faces of Syracuse basketball. And last season, we thought Alyssa Latham would have been that new face, but then she transfers. And that's the world we live in. We can't be fixated on certain players because we don't know what's going to happen. And so I think Syracuse, they played well, but BC, just Taya Sidbury and Dontavia Wagner, they were just way too good.
56 of the 76 Eagles points. That was crazy. Yeah. I mean, there's not much you can do for that. But I feel like in these games, and it was pretty much all season, there was one puzzle piece away in every single game. It was like one little thing wouldn't click.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a problem that just happened throughout the year. Just kept going and going. And they never were able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that just was, I felt like the epitome of the entire season.
Yeah.
When they fell to BC in that type of way.
I think, though, that with so many players leaving, heading into the next season, I'm kind of hopeful, to be honest, that we're going to find that missing puzzle piece, that it's going to connect somehow with some new players, new chemistry. Coach FLJ has proven herself time and time again. I mean, she's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the men's basketball team, I have so much hope for the women's Syracuse team.
I have hope for both.
We know that.
What Coach Jack has been able to do, I mean, she turned a lot of talent at Buffalo into high ACC talent. Deasia Fair, Georgia Woolley, Kyra Wood, all players that started with Coach Jack at Buffalo. And not many players can make that transition from playing at Buffalo to playing at Syracuse and do it exceptionally well. And that's the type of coaching that Coach Jack is able to do.
I think there needs to be some sort of new prodigy.
Well, that's
that
the
comes
thing.
in.
The women's basketball especially is star-driven, star power.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Caitlin Clark did. We saw what Angel Reese did. Now it's Hannah Hidalgo.
Or Deasia Fair.
Deasia Fair.
Yeah.
It's Juju Watkins. It's Olivia Miles. There's so many good big names in women's basketball that Syracuse needs to find its next star.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, are they going to be able to do that? I'm not sure if they are.
Based off who's on the team now, who would you pick out to be not any newcomers or anything like that? Just
I think Kira Scott, potentially.
Maybe Sophie Burrows.
I was going to say Sophie Burrows.
Yeah. So no.
But those guys, they can't be stars. They're not going to be your
Sophie Burrows.
prodigy.
She put up 23 points and 3 threes.
I think
Good,
she
it's
could
good.
be molded into one.
You think she could be a star?
I think she could.
She's not your prototypical. She's 6'2". She's a guard who shoots a lot of threes. That's not the typical star that we've seen.
She's a good number two.
I agree. I think a very good number. Like a very, very
she'd
good
be a
number
great
two.
number two.
Mm-hmm.
But finding that one, that still needs to be established, I think.
Yeah, I think if they don't recruit someone
Syracuse
as
has
that one,
they have a strong recruiting class coming up.
They do. But I do think Burrows could step up. I think she could. I think she's done a lot last season, definitely this season, next to Georgia Woolley and Kyra Wood. I think she could be that glimpse of hope.
Well, a glimpse of hope you talked about. A team that could use a glimpse of hope right now, Syracuse women's lacrosse.
Oh gosh.
They have their next game tomorrow at 4 against Stanford, and a huge game because Syracuse women's lacrosse has now lost 3 straight games.
Yeah.
All two good teams, though.
All to good teams.
Yeah.
All teams that are now in the top 7. Clemson
Right.
is now the number 7 team in the country. When the Orange played them, they were the number 11 team. But North Carolina, number 2, and Northwestern, number 3. So you would have said before the season, if you have 3 straight losses in a year, though, I mean, that's pretty unacceptable, guys.
Well, it just happens to be that's the way the schedule plays out. And Syracuse lost its arguably 1A, 1B player, Olivia Adamson.
Right.
Who was, her and Emma Ward were that 1-2 punch for Syracuse that allowed the rest of the offense to open up. And so now without Olivia Adamson, a lot of the pressure's on Emma Ward, but then you're waiting for freshmen like Caroline Trinkus to step up, and Syracuse doesn't really have that experience necessarily that other teams have. And so a lot is put on the shoulders of the underclassmen and then a lot on Emma Ward, and which is very hard to do.
Yeah, before Adamson got injured, Syracuse was already having their problems with turnovers and draw control. We had mentioned that last few shows ago.
The draw control. Don't even get me started, Jazz.
Now with Adamson out, it's like we are seeing these mistakes
Pile on.
And, pile on over and over again. The draw control is huge. It's super important, and it has been an absolutely massive problem recently.
A struggle.
It has been historically bad. It's not just been a problem. It has been that bad. Just 4 against number 7 Clemson. That is their lowest in over a decade in a game. Just 4. You can't win games when you have just 4 draw controls. Kayla Traynor said it herself. If you're not getting draw controls, your offense has to be extremely efficient. And I mean, that's the key. You got to score goals.
Well, because you don't even get possession.
Coach Trainer also had mentioned going into the Stanford game, the team must finish under 10 overs if they are expecting to win.
Yeah.
So it's kind of these two big problems that have kind of been historically here and on the team, that they keep making these mistakes. But I think that if they can't go into the Stanford game and clean up those things, and then on top of not having Adamson, I don't know if we could pull out this win.
And Stanford's not the easiest opponent. They're number 6 in the country. They haven't lost. I mean, just the ACC, number 1 Boston College, number 2 North Carolina, number 6 Stanford, number 7 Clemson, and then
number 10
Syracuse tied at 10. Not the easiest conference. Obviously, the best conference in women's lacrosse. But Megan Rode at the draw control, she's been good against the bad teams, but she hasn't competed well against the top of the top teams. And Syracuse plays the top of the top teams basically the whole season, except outside of a couple of games.
It's just the reality of women's lacrosse.
I think the turnovers will settle themselves just by more experience playing together. We'll just get the communication and the turnovers, get rid of the turnovers and improve the communication. Although the draw control, I'm not sure exactly how you fix, and that's how the defense, I think, steps up. If the defense does really well, they're going to be tired because they'll be on their side of the field a lot. But if the defense plays well, Danielle Gayet in net, who's been very good in the time that she's started, I think then you allow the offense to get more synergy or possession. And once their chemistry is up, then they'll start scoring more goals in bunches and being more efficient, which will keep them in games, even if they're not winning at the draw control.
I'm just worried because right now they're not scoring any goals, and that's a direct result of the draw control. And if you're not scoring goals, I'm sorry, you're not going to win these games because the Syracuse, it's not like they have a bad defense or something. It's a great defense. It's one of the top defenses in the NCAA, but it doesn't matter when you're playing against these great teams who are going to score goals. It's just the reality because of the schedule. The teams that you're playing against are going to score a lot. So you got to figure out the draw control as soon as possible.
Yeah. I also don't think defense is that big of a problem. I think the key is just get possession, obtain possession, and just be a shark on the attack. Without Adamson, I think what we're seeing is just a team struggling without a key player. And they're just adjusting.
Well, a lot to figure out for Syracuse women's lacrosse. That game starts at 4 tomorrow in the Dome. We're up against a break here on Newhouse Afternoon, but stick with us right after the break.
The Sports Show with Cody Mack.
Hello, you gaggle of silly gooses. Just a frick ton of...
I'll tell you what, though, this seat probably the most uncomfortable seat I've ever used in my life.
Really?
Because, I can't lean back against the wall.
Yeah.
The desk is too wide.
Syracuse. Where will the sports be any better?
I want the basketball team to be good.
Well, you clearly don't think they'll be good next year.
So maybe by our senior year, hopefully our senior year,
I don't think they will. I was watching SEC basketball game last night, Tennessee Ole Miss, and I was like, I was watching. I was like, wow, I forgot how awesome college basketball was.
Come on.
Because I've been watching Syracuse all year, and it's just been so boring to watch. I'm not even joking. I'm so serious too. The crowd was so into it. Everyone was on their feet.
Which game was it?
Tennessee Ole Miss. Ole Miss upset Tennessee, 78-76. Good game.
Yeah.
It was a fun one.
I like Tennessee. I'm a big fan of the Volunteers.
Yeah, they're a good team. Chaz
Lanier. My guy JP Estrella got injured.
Who's the little guy in Tennessee again?
Zakai Ziegler?
Yeah, Ziegler.
Zakai Ziegler.
Yeah, Ziegler.
All knowledge.
Yeah, I like
All knowledge.
Bro, I knew his name. I couldn't remember it.
No. We got Kev from Liverpool in the chat. No one else in the chat.
Kev from Liverpool.
I noticed you're rocking the Canadian tuxedo today.
Who's rocking the
What?
You're rocking the Canadian tuxedo.
A tuxedo.
Canadian
Is
tuxedo.
it giving that right now?
No, that's what it's called.
Oh, is it?
I didn't know it's called that.
I didn't know
Actually,
that.
yeah, I'm learning
Wow,
something.
traitor.
Wait, I had no idea.
I didn't know that either.
That was like the
it's
vibe.
I
interesting.
think it's like white hillbilly type of like.
It was like,
Because I actually brought this up initially. You didn't know it's called a Canadian
No.
tuxedo with denim?
no.
I mentioned that Jazz was rocking the can tux. Maybe it
The
was
can
Canadian.
tux. Wait, that's sick.
Nobody calls it a can tux.
All right.
It's
Never heard
Oh,
The Canadian
Cans.
tuxedo is our new favorite
Cans.
slang.
tuxedo at the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Like,
Denim
what?
on
This is a
denim?
thing?
Yeah, it's a thing.
All right.
Canada tuxedo.
We're
Let's
finding-
see if it
You
comes
seem
up.
very
Oh, it does come up.
with fashion, like
I,
you're
you know,
Yeah, but I mean, I know that's kind of.
wait, it actually did come up.
I didn't make you think I just made it up.
Not that you made it
Yeah,
up,
wait,
but I didn't
yeah,
know if this
what?
was like a well thing.
What?
Like, this
No,
is
I
a
just
well.
thought-
Why would he make it up?
That's called a Canadian
I thought it was kind of like a, oh, here and there people say it, but no, this is
So what's a
you're
Texas tuxedo?
Oh, that I don't know.
maybe like a flannel,
Does
which is what you're
everywhere have a
ripping.
tuxedo? This is a good.
A California
We should
tuxedo.
all wear tuxedos, and the Jazz can wear that. She can wear that.
That's a
Canada
suit. A
tux.
suit jacket with jeans is a Texas tuxedo.
Okay, no, that's valid. That's very valid.
Blue jeans, the big buckle.
Okay, wait. A California tuxedo is just like a normal
The California. Oh,
tux,
yeah.
formal.
The more you know.
A can
Like California's
tux.
gotta have tuxes. They got beds. You know what I mean?
They have a California bag.
What's a California bed?
California King.
It's never
Jeez, you guys are so
California-
uncultured. So
So I
uncultured.
know
California
that
pizza.
is.
Jazz doesn't
California
know
pizza
MTV.
kitchen.
Welcome into my MTV cribs.
I was
Oh
there
my
in the
God.
middle of January, dude. Too hot to wear a tux in California. Not good.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it's just
You
always
don't
too
like
warm.
it?
I went in
No,
June.
no, I
It's
love
always
it,
too-
but I wouldn't
well.
wear a tux.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Even in January,
I
it's
love
like 50 or
Yeah,
60.
you almost insulted Jazz's hometown. I was like, oh,
No, I love it.
I am the biggest
I've never been.
California lover.
I liked it.
I only went
Yeah.
for MLB winter meetings a couple years ago.
Oh, that sounds
that's sick.
fun.
It was a vibe.
Yeah.
Check it out if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Maybe if I get an
You
invite.
can
I don't know.
stop by. Stop by.
You don't have to get invited. You can just go to MLB winter
If
meetings.
you ever find yourself
Oh,
over
I thought
there.
you're talking about California.
MLB winner.
Yeah, you're not getting invites from us.
Yeah, exactly. I need an invite, personal invite from the governor to go to California.
Alright, so you know that bun I had
I've only been to California
back
once.
on when the
What part? I think
LA.
you told me this. LA, yeah.
The World Series, 2018.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
We are back here at Newhouse Afternoon from the ESPN Radio Syracuse studios. Griffin Bloomstein, Jaslyn Salinas, Timmy Weiss with me as well. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is powered by Drivers Village Cicero. Go to dvoffers.com for more information. We got a couple of stuff left to talk about here on Newhouse Afternoon. We're going to start with some men's lacrosse. We just finished wrapping up talking about women's lacrosse. The men's lacrosse team bounced back after a couple of losses, beat Utah on the road 15-5. Now it's Sunday in the Dome. Hopkins, I think the biggest game of the year, a must-win game for Syracuse.
For
A
sure.
must win. I don't know if I'd go quite with must win, but I'd say it's really, really close to must win.
Why not must-win?
I wouldn't say must win yet because it's still really early in the season. And there's still a lot of really good ranked teams that you're going to play against. So you still have the opportunity later in the year to beat the ranked teams. But with that being said, I think it's really, really close to being a must win because you haven't proved that you can win these big games.
So maybe it's
yet.
a,
So
it's a moose
close,
win,
yeah,
not a
it's
must
close
win.
Yeah, sure.
must win,
Moose
but it's
win.
not
You
a
can say
must
that.
win.
It's really close.
It's really close.
Yeah, really.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with Griffin. I think it's
Thank
a
you.
must win. Last year we beat them by 1 point, it's 14-13. I think we
Great game.
carry that on.
The first top 5 win of the Gary Gate men's lacrosse era.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to keep up that rivalry and pull out that win.
It is a
on
rivalry.
Saturday.
Both
Yeah.
teams, arguably the top 2 lacrosse programs of all time.
Mhm.
Not recently, but in the past, definitely.
I said
yes.
of all time.
Yeah.
But recently, neither team has gotten a lot of championship aspirations, but not a lot of championship success. Syracuse and Johns Hopkins looking to turn that around. It's a 2 p.m. face-off on Sunday. But Johns Hopkins, they're a top 10 team. but they've played a lot of close games. Looking through their schedule, all of their games have been decided by 5 or less goals, and 3, if I do the math right, no, 4,
Math guy.
check the math, always check the math. 4 games out of their 6 have been decided by 1 goal. They're tested. They can compete in close games, but like they only beat Loyola Maryland by 1. Only beat Towson by 1. Syracuse beat the brakes off of Towson.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Georgetown by 5. Okay, that's pretty good.
That's good. That's a good one.
They beat Virginia, who was knocked out of the Inside Lacrosse media poll.
I think they might be 19.
They might have jumped back up.
Yeah.
But they were out for a bit. And then North Carolina, they lost 2 by 1. North Carolina, a very good team. So they've been tested early. They've played their last 4 games at home. Well, this will be their 3rd road game of the year. I'm not sure they're ready for the Dome.
I think Syracuse wins this one. I do.
too.
I think Syracuse is going to come out firing, but there are some things they got to prove, and there's some things they need to change from these big games they've played earlier this year. And my one big key is that they play a full game. You don't play one half only.
I disagree.
You disagree? Okay.
I think
Go ahead.
you're going to bring up the Utah game?
You could bring up the Utah game. I'm not only going to bring up the Utah
Okay.
game. I'm mostly bringing up the Maryland and the Harvard game.
All right, that's fair.
Okay.
Against Maryland and Harvard, they both had leads going into halftime.
Only scored 2 goals against Maryland in the second half. Only scored 4 goals against Harvard in the second half. Not good enough.
That's true. I can't deny you. That's obviously true. You have to score more goals. Luke Rowe was out for one of those games. Luke Rowe is back. Jackson Birtwistle obviously gone for the season with that ACL injury or the lower body injury. And then for Syracuse, it's going to have to be, can you capitalize on everything? The defense has been good. You got to give Jimmy McCool a lot of credit. In that second half against Utah, basically the whole Utah game, he bounced back after getting benched against Harvard. The defense has been good. Johnny Mullen's been really, really good at the face-off circle. The question is this offense that's supposed to be one of the best offenses, if not the best attack in the country, can they be as good as they are supposed to be?
And they've been at times this year. We've seen flashes of it.
Yeah.
You know, in that Towson game in the 4th quarter, they were electric. And in that Utah game, 11 goals in the first half. They were awesome. It might have been some of the best Syracuse offense I've seen this year.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been consistent. And I go back to that against Maryland, 2 goals in the second half, and 4 goals against Harvard, who doesn't have a good defense in that second half, and only 4 goals against Utah in the second half.
While I agree that they kind of lit off the burners towards the end of the game, I think that I don't know if the right word is like hype around this game, but this is John Hopkins. Like I think Syracuse and John Hopkins always have had this like rivalry between each other. We talked about that.
Yep.
It's 2 great programs. I think that'll fuel them enough to I don't think the worry of them, I guess, slowing down towards the end of the game is a worry in this particular game. I think the rivalry itself is going to fuel Cuse.
I agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. I think Syracuse will want this game more than any other game they've played. And I think that's the big part. If Syracuse wants to win this game, if Joey Spallina wants to be one of the best players in the country, which I think he does, hopefully he does.
I'd hope so.
I would hope so too. Then I think he has to put on a show. And I think Syracuse at home in the Dome, they want to beat the brakes off of one of the best teams in the country. They want to go against a Hopkins team that has gotten their number in recent years. Obviously, last year was a different thing. And say, okay, Syracuse is back. This is our year. Open up the season number 2. They've dropped because they've lost a couple games, but Syracuse wants to be that program.
Yeah.
I think for the Utah game you're talking about, only a couple goals in that second half. I think once Syracuse got up big, they let some other guys get in the mix. Their top couple of lines of attack in midfield weren't out, so I'm not too worried about that second half performance, more so than the Harvard or the Maryland game. But there are questions, and until we see them fix the questions, we can't say they're solved.
And Spallina in the second halves, you mentioned Spallina. I mean, he hasn't really been there in the second halves of these big games. He's kind of gone away. He's had good games, but it's only been in the first half. You know, earlier in the year against the not as good teams, he had complete games where he was absolutely dominating. But I want to see Joey Spallina in the clutch moments be that guy.
I think he will be that guy in John Hopkins. I'm going to say
hope
it again.
so.
I think this game, even though there are going to be possibly more important games later in the season as far as ranked teams and must wins, I think this game is going to set the tone for Syracuse to be able to say they took down John Hopkins for a second year in a row. I think it's almost that pride. That's what I think what they're going to feed off of, and I think Spallina is going to step up and be that guy, be consistent throughout the entire game.
And that's what I meant by this is a must-win. This is a must-win if Syracuse wants to be a national championship contender.
Mm-hmm.
They need this win to carry them into a Cornell, into a Duke game.
Notre Dame.
There's a lot of games coming up.
It's confidence. That's what it is. To take down John Hopkins, number 7 John Hopkins, it's the confidence that they'll get from that win. And I think they want that. I think they'll get it. And if they do succeed after this game, their confidence is going to be boosted. And that's going to help them later in the season.
And they have to get it at some point. They have to get that big win.
They have to get more than one. More than one.
Yeah.
Right? True. They need to get more than one because there's so many on their schedule.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the NCAA tournament, if you only have 1 or 2, well,
that's
not good enough.
Syracuse had 6 losses last season, and that got them in. 4-2 right now, the record. It's going to be I think it has to be better than 6 to get them in this year, especially for the expectations that were set for Syracuse men's lacrosse. Gary Gate and company have a lot of preparation. They had a whole week and a week and a day before this Hopkins game in the Dome. It's going to be a big one. That face-off is at 2 p.m. on Sunday. We are coming up on a break here on Newhouse Afternoon. When we come back on ESPN Radio Syracuse, we'll touch on some men's basketball ACC tournament preview and a whole lot more.
Hey, this is former Syracuse basketball player.
Nailed it. Kid's a natural. Taught him everything you know.
Devo.
I feel like I can't hear anything through these.
Do you need to turn it up?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. Wait, I meant like, it's just, wait, no, that's
Oh, like, yeah, when you're wearing
when
it.
I'm wearing
yes.
them, like when you said
I
something
can't
right
hear.
now, I
Yeah,
have no idea what you just said. Like,
I had no idea either.
Like, I can't. No, I have like no spatial like awareness with
No, I was like, you need to. I wasn't going to say anything.
Can you imagine 30 minutes without
I didn't know if
the
it was
show?
just my headphones.
No,
so.
it just like, it's like really, what's the word? You know, like AirPods or like
Yeah.
Noise canceling?
noise canceling.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word. Noise
my
canceling,
goodness.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm tired.
It is pretty. Yeah, I'm also so tired.
What have you been doing all day?
I woke up at 6 a.m. to study 2 hours for an exam
How'd
at
it go?
9:30.
How'd it
Actually,
go?
I think it went really well.
Okay, good.
But I hadn't studied.
Besides our astronomy class, I have no exams.
I have no exams, just like essays. Like I had my Buddhism midterm essay this week.
Can you teach me?
I have no essays on. Like this might be my easiest semester.
Jazz, can you teach me how to meditate yet?
Oh,
Yeah.
let's
Let's
Can
do
we
it.
do a meditation
Can we do it after the show?
really quick?
let's move on.
Can we do it?
We'll maybe another day.
He's gonna fade meditation like he faded our radio meeting.
I'm excited.
Can we talk about that?
What?
Griffin does not take this seriously.
Yeah, no, he doesn't show up to meet
is-
with us anymore. He's too cool for us. so-
Yeah.
I
don't think
Sean
cool is
know.
the problem.
Yeah, too lame for
It's
us.
not
actually.
that. It's not that.
Alright,
Too
fine,
lame.
fine. I'm too lame for you guys. But that's
That might be it.
fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Jazz new fam as well. That's
Bro.
Let's talk about it. I'm so down. All right.
yeah. So how's
I'm
new
kidding.
fam?
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
All right.
No.
Wait, I actually am curious to hear your picks for the March or for like your champion and dark horse though.
Are we saying
doing
right
that?
now?
I feel like it's way too early to talk about March.
I think
doing
we
it.
can't spend the whole block.
No, not
talking
the whole
about
block.
it.
We're doing ACC tournament.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to.
But
Just,
not like
just give your champion and give your dark horse. That's all.
All right, I'll come up with someone on the spot.
I got my pick. So.
the dark horse was a little difficult.
I
I'm not
found a
gonna
good one.
lie.
I
But
got my squad. got my team.
I'm ready to tear up.
Who cares? Has to be
Your
outside the top 25, Griffin.
Take us
though.
in. You want me to take us
sure,
in?
yeah.
Okay.
Griffin has to be outside the top 25. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we wrap on time.
Yeah, of course.
It's like 55
20. I got you. Like once we hit 55, I'll give you a little signal to stop talking.
To stop
The
talking.
sports show with Cody Mack. It's coming up next.
Right? Crazy. This guy's so rude.
Duke will play Arkansas on Thanksgiving night at the United Center in Chicago in primetime on CBS. That's pretty hype.
Yeah.
Shout out Arkansas for having the biggest expectations and then
They could.
and
they
then
could-
not doing anything.
They could make the tournament.
Arkansas
Still.
dude,
Because it's the SEC.
flop of the
'Cause it's
century.
SEC.
Flop of the century. Same thing with Rutgers.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Rutgers spent all this money. Rutgers. What you don't? There's nothing going on
Take
in your
your
headphones.
headphones
No.
off.
Okay, sorry.
Take them off.
Rutgers had the top 2 prospects and then flopped.
Rutgers what?
Can you say it again?
Rutgers
See that?
had some good prospects, but they haven't done a lot because they are Rutgers.
Oh, okay.
I expected more. Is that slow enough for you?
You're on one today, aren't you?
I see.
On one.
That's a good point.
My mom texted us saying that we're goofy.
Yeah, we're goofy. Hi, Mrs. Bloomstein.
Yeah, hello, Mrs. Bloomstein. Hope you're doing well.
Well, you looked right here, not at the
I don't know where the camera. Where's the camera?
It's right there.
Oh, right. I didn't know where it was.
Wow.
That's so funny.
All right, 10 seconds.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to ESPN 97.7 with Timmy Weiss and Griffin Bloomstein. I'm Jazeline Salinas, and we've covered lots this last 47-ish minutes of the show. Whole lot. But what we haven't really touched on is Syracuse men's basketball, specifically the ACC tournament.
Right? It's big. I mean, it's coming up right away. We got one more game against UVA on Saturday, and then it's ACC tournament time. I know, believe it or not.
I'll be in the Dome.
You're going to be in the
For
Dome?
the first time this season. I'll
You
be
doing
in the
stats?
Dome. I'll be in the Dome. I'll be in the Dome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back. Sorry. Let's get back on track.
You just wanted to drop that really quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Syracuse right now, I think, is the 13th seed in the ACC tournament. They'd be playing against, I believe, Pittsburgh.
13?
13, I believe, yes. I believe it's the 13.
Sure.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah,
14.
14.
14, sorry.
And I think
It's okay.
they would then go on to play, if they went through Virginia Tech, to UNC, I believe. That's correct? The number 16?
It's changing a lot because
there's a lot of movement.
there's a lot
I
of
mean,
movement.
there's no reason to speculate because if Syracuse loses against Virginia, then most likely be the bottom. They'll be number 15.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one against Virginia. Obviously, the big news with the Cavaliers, their head coach retired. No more Tony Bennett.
Storied coach Tony Bennett is done, and they've taken a huge step back this year. You know, UVA has always been one of those teams that you don't want to play because they're so good.
Their defense,
but not this year.
Their defense always gave Syracuse problems. Tony Bennett was also one of the coaches that figured out towards the end of Boeheim's tenure how to break that 2-3 zone. So he was a very good coach. Obviously, that championship in 2019, obviously frequently a contender in March Madness outside of when they get upset. But it's okay. But that's not the team anymore. It's a new Cavaliers team.
And I just want to go back to the ACC tournament for a second. You know, if Syracuse is really playing its best basketball, I don't even know what you would describe as their best basketball.
Yeah.
Playing two halves in a row?
2 halves in a row. Let's say the first half against SMU the other day. They do it for 2 halves. How far do you think they can go in the ACC tournament?
Not far at all.
If they play that basketball?
If they play that basketball.
Yeah, I don't think so. Even then, still, I think they're...
You think they'd win a round? I think they'd win a round.
And then be out immediately.
Yeah,
after.
maybe. I don't want to ever say they're going to win 2 rounds because they're not going to win.
Yeah, there's no way Syracuse
would
make that stretch.
I think it's possible. I mean, think about it. Syracuse loses to Virginia. They might play Virginia again. Or if they beat you might play Virginia again. I think Syracuse somehow finds a way to play Virginia 2 games in a row. Similarly to Syracuse women's basketball played BC 2 games in a row in the end of the regular season in the first round of the ACC tournament. Virginia, it's a beatable team. Syracuse plays well. It's a beatable team. I even think North Carolina is a beatable team. Syracuse hung with them.
They're not going to beat North Carolina.
It's possible.
It's
you
not
almost beat SMU.
Well,
you almost beat North Carolina.
Anything is possible.
Exactly.
Sure, you can
Shout
make
out Kevin
that
Garnett.
argument.
I mean, maybe you could fly too, Griffin. I don't know.
Anything is possible.
If you put your mind to it.
But Syracuse men's basketball, I think, has proven time and time again that they can't do it. They can't make it happen.
No, I agree. I don't think they're going to anywhere reach near the finals.
The question was if they played their best basketball.
If they played their best basketball, I think they can win 2 games.
Okay. And then they go out right after that.
Who do you think wins the ACC tournament? Yes, I think they lose.
Duke.
After.
My answer is so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it wouldn't be. I mean, you could say Clemson's also a very good team, but Duke's winning the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
You agree?
They've been dominant the last 4, 5 games. I mean, they are crushing
just everyone.
Game.
Yeah.
They've only won 2 conference championships since 2019.
Yeah, but the ACC is horrible this year. That's not the case the last forever years. It's always been the best.
That's true.
And now North Carolina isn't good.
Also,
And now UVA isn't good.
Also, Duke is a completely different team than the last few seasons, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, Cooper Flagg's the best player in the country. That's no question about that. I think Louisville's going to win. I think Duke. I don't think they need to win. I don't think they're going to. And not that Louisville needs to win either. They're going to be in March Madness. But I think Louisville wants it. They're scrappy. They're a new team. First-year head coach, Pat Kelsey. I like what he's doing. I think Louisville's going to take it. Hot take.
Yeah, that is a hot take. They lost to Duke earlier this year by over 10 points. So, I mean, it would be very cool to see for the Cardinals because, hey, little Syracuse comparison right here.
So you two have Syracuse losing in round 1. I think I have round 1 or round 2.
Round 2?
Loss.
Okay.
1 or 2. I honestly have no idea. It's the Syracuse basketball unpredictable.
Right.
They are predictable this season, but they have that kind of nature where they would win 1 game. Just to say they won 1 game.
Just to do it.
Just to do it. They would just to do it. All right. We got about 2.5 minutes before our time here ends, unfortunately. So Timmy wanted to talk a little March Madness.
We're in March after all. Just a little bit.
It's March 6th. I guess that counts.
ACC tournament's coming up. All the other conference tournaments are coming up. So we're going to go around, give a champion, and give a dark horse. How about you start with champion?
You go. You were so excited.
All right.
I'll let you go.
I will be gladly to go ahead. All right. My champion for March Madness this year. Duke University. Duke is so good. They literally, they're 18-1 in the ACC, which honestly on its own isn't that impressive because of how bad the ACC is. But only 2 of those wins, of those 16 wins, were by less than 10 points.
All right.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Who's a dark horse?
Dark horse?
Yep.
This is going to be an interesting one. Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon Ducks. Outside the top 25.
Yeah.
Good team. Very good.
Interestingly enough, my dark horse is Indiana. Now, they lost to Oregon, but I think they show that they could keep up. I think they're a dangerous team.
Yep.
I think the Hoosiers could make some bit of a run, shock people.
All right.
Who do you have winning?
I did say Duke. If the
Right.
the listeners could see my screen, I put Duke in all caps as the winner.
I like it.
Yeah.
See, as a Syracuse basketball, someone who enjoys watching Syracuse basketball, I'll never say Duke's going to win anything. And I think Tom Izzo, this is the right Michigan State team to win it all. I am very excited to watch Tom Izzo basketball. Tom Izzo basketball is in its best when it's April and May, or March and April.
Once it's March. March, Tom Izzo basketball is unbelievable. I will agree with you on that.
And I think my dark horse is going to be Texas A&M.
Okay.
I like Texas A&M.
No, yeah, they're a good team. They beat Auburn the other day.
True.
Just the other day. So definitely possible dark
Those are
horse
fair.
team right there.
Yeah.
SEC in general is just really, really good.
Yeah.
Just watch out for any of those, in my opinion. Watch out for any of those teams in March.
I'm so
Because
excited.
it's absolutely
I'm so
happening.
excited.
I think March is where the SEC drops off and where the ACC usually does well.
But this is a different year.
I don't think so.
In my opinion, because I think the The SEC ACC Challenge earlier this year was crazy, and the SEC dominated.
They did dominate. That is very true. Well, it's been a great time here in the ESPN radio studios. Griffin Bloomstein, Jaslene Salinas, Timmy Weiss. We got the sports show with Cody Mack coming up.
This is